Do you want your kids to want to read all day? Good, you're in the right place. I'm going to share with you some tips and tricks that I used to get my kids to want to read all day, to a fault. Like literally, I have trouble getting them to do other things because they won't stop reading. Stick around to the end because the last one, probably the most unpopular suggestion I'll make, but it really works. First off, let's get the really obvious one out of the way. Any parent who's concerned with getting their kids to read knows from the time that they're young, really young, babies, newborns, even in the womb, read to them. Read to them all the time. Morning, noon, night, bedtime, nap time, snack time, anytime you can time. That's the time to read to them. Fit it in wherever you can, because that's growing their desire and their enjoyment of storytelling in this manner. I mostly did bedtime and nap time, and then at random intervals throughout the day whenever I could. Second thing I did is I didn't rush them into reading. Now, if you want them to be the first in kindergarten to read, then my advice is not for you. But if your goal is for them to read forever, then consider an alternative. When I was working with them to learn to read, I went at their pace and I didn't rush. I made sure that it was something that we were working on without pressure. I've seen it done the other way, and taking someone who had a beautiful love of stories, a child that had a beautiful love of stories, and they didn't develop into a happy reader because they were pressed and drilled and drilled and pressed. And I don't see the benefit. Yes, functionally, they can read, but they don't have the enjoyment of it. So when they were little, before reading, they had as many books as I could possibly get my hands on that they could enjoy, and just picture books that they would flip through at their leisure. I always created little cozy corner nooks for them to sit down with their books, but those usually never stayed in place and became forts and other things. But they would themselves create cozy nooks for reading, to the point where if I didn't know where to find them, I would usually, they weren't up to any mischief, find them in the closet, piled on pillows with blankets, and a pile of books next to them flipping through their picture books. I generally stayed away from drilling. I didn't do drills. I did do sight words. So I did have sight word cards that we would review fairly regularly. I didn't do drilling. We did daily reading lessons or daily reading practice. That was definitely something that was involved, but that didn't include any pressure. It was a small amount of time and it happened daily. They always had the desire to read, even if they didn't have the ability early on, or, they had trouble with it. So I would encourage them to do the daily reading practice and then leave it at that. And so then we would just kind of keep going at whatever the pace was. If they were struggling, didn't let it deter us, we just kind of kept going at an easy pace. And let me tell you, when it finally clicks for them, it clicks. And then, they'll take off on their own. You'll really get to just sit back and watch them start to pick up anything that they can get their hands on to read. Quick story. So, my oldest, when he was really learning to read, he would probably be considered behind at the time. He struggled with a bunch of concepts and he had a hard time, although he had a great desire. And so that's what we did. We continued with our reading lessons and a little bit of reading daily, but we kept it very relaxed and we didn't do drills. We just did sight words. And it wasn't until I read him a book that really captured his imagination. And at that point, when we finished it, he started picking it up and just trying to read his favorite passages, although it was well out of his level for reading. And from there, that's when I just saw the magic happen, where he just saw that if he just kept doing it, he would improve and he could start getting through things that he enjoyed. And he pushed himself and he picked up everything he could find. He started going back to the easier chapter books and reading those as much as he could. And he read them over and over and over and over again until he got to the next set and he read those over again. And it just took off and it was really incredible. And that's actually what inspired me to write my own kids chapter book, because I struggled to keep up with his insatiable desire to read books at the level that he was at the time. And so I thought, why not throw my hand into the arena and add some stories of my own? So just, there it is. Let me just add that, I'm not a reading expert. I'm not coming to you from that place of this is what I've studied and this is what I know. I'm just sharing with you what I did with my kids and what worked for each one of them. It worked across the board. Okay, my third tip, and what I think is a very important one. Let your kids get bored. There, I said it. It's good for them. I know, we parents have gotten into a situation where we don't like having our kids get bored, and we have to deal with their boredom. And so we give them whatever we need to get them off our backs. Trust me, I get it. We have extremely busy lives in our society, and it's not easy. It's not easy at all. That being said, there's a flip side to everything. And them not having to learn to deal with their boredom will generally lead to them not knowing how to deal with their boredom. I know, not rocket science. But hear me out. Seriously though, it's a tougher road early on, but the payoff is really great when they get a little bit older. That brings me to my fourth and probably very unpopular tip, which is limit screen time, big time. And I say this because it really, really, really works. Now, again, just prefacing this by saying this is not a judgment on any parent's choices or decisions on how they manage their children's screen time. I am merely sharing what worked for my family. We do no screen time at all during the weekdays. So on school days, after school, it's playtime, just playtime. Inside playtime, outside playtime, park, ride bikes, collect sticks, kick rocks, whatever. Playtime. Again, this is coming back to the let them get bored part. So if they get to a point where they don't know what to do, let them figure it out. That's okay. Now, we can of course make suggestions. I, always keep craft supplies on hand so that those can be pulled out at a given notice. Makes for more mess? Yes. Makes for less mischief? Yes. And makes for having a good time without screens? Absolutely. My crew never tires of making slime. I just keep that big gallon bottle of glue, school glue, on hand at all times. Screen time is also limited on the weekend, so the weekend is not free-for-all for screen time either. There's an allotted amount of time for playing on the iPad or something like that, for that type of screen time, and then they can spend a bit of time watching a movie together or a few episodes of their favorite shows. But when that time is up, that's it. TV's off, iPads are down, go do something else. You can refer to my earlier list. That includes, but is not limited to, kicking rocks. Again, a tougher road at first, but the payoff is well worth it. Then, something magical will happen. It might be that you read a story to your child and it sparks their imagination so much that they pick up the book after you've read it and try and read it themselves. Or maybe you start reading a series and they love the series so much that they want to get through it faster than you have time to read it to them, so they start picking it up on their own and moving forward. But what happens next is fantastic. You'll sit back and your child will wander over to the bookshelf, pull off a book, sit down and read it, simply because they want to. Then you can sit back and watch the magic happen. Good luck.